24 years ago, on this day, a national tragedy struck the United States, which led to the Afghan War. The date is the 11th of September 2001. The day started off like any other in Manhattan. People were expecting a same normal day. Flights were going in and out of New York to international airports across the world. Until something would go horribly wrong. You see, a group of terrorists hijacked planes in Manhattan. And their goal was to try to demoralize the people of the United States. The terrorist group known as Al-Qaeda, and attempted to make 4 whole attacks. Only 3 would be successful. Four planes were hijacked from Al-Qaeda terrorists. A total of 19 of them hijacked 4 commercial airliners, 2 of which were flown into the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York City, and the 3rd into the Pentagon, which is the headquarters of the United States Department of Defense, in Arlington County, Virginia. However, the final aircraft that not many know the destination of, well, should have been the destination of during the hijacking. See, the Al-Qaeda group decided they would hit both towers in Manhattan, the Pentagon, and finally the White House. And the plane to hit the White House, or it's supposed to have hit the White House, was Flight 93. On that flight, every passenger knew something was wrong. They decided to take matters into their own hands. The passengers started a revolt against the terrorists. They knew something was wrong, and they wanted to do something about it. And despite warning, and despite the terrorist group's best effort to try and calm the passengers down, saying that we're making an emergency stop in a different place, they weren't buying it. And eventually, the terrorists got fed up and crashed a plane in the field, which you can still see the memorial site today. The United States declared war, and the country they declared war on was Afghanistan. Hence the 20-year Afghan War, also known as the Global War on Terror. The first World Trade Center tower was hit by a plane. In particular, American Airlines Flight 11. So, ringleader Mohammed Dada flew American Airlines Flight 11 into the North Tower of the World Trade Center complex at 8:46 p.m. a.m. I'm fucking tired. 17 minutes later, at 9:03 a.m., United Airlines Flight 175 hit the South Tower. Both collapsed within an hour and 40 minutes, destroying the remaining structures in the complex. American Airlines Flight 77 crashed into the Pentagon at 9:37 a.m. Before I continue on to Flight 93, I want to tell you about how the American people responded to this attack. The first attack being the American Airlines Flight 11 crashing into the North Tower. People first assumed that it was a freak accident, that a small little plane hit the tower on accident. Then shortly found out that it was a commercial airlines. Still, they thought it was an accident until the second plane hit. When the second plane hit at 9:03 a.m., people realized very quickly that this was not an accident. In fact, you may have heard this phrase a lot. And obviously, for my older audiences that are older than 20, will know what I'm talking about. And specifically, the phrase gives some people chills that have had to live through that traumatic experience. The phrase being, America is under attack. Yep, you heard that right. America is under attack. For the first time, as far as I am aware, the first time that a terrorist group from a foreign country has managed to get inside of America and make an attack. Now, granted, you have the Boston Marathon running bombing, you have the Oklahoma City bombing. Yes, granted, I understand those, but let's be honest, the Boston Marathon running was done by American civilians, not particularly from the United States, but it was people that had American visas that were living in America. It's all fucking complicated. And the Oklahoma bombing was by cartels, not terrorist groups. Shut up. I said shut up. Not you guys. And so, from after that, at 9:37, you had Flight 77 American Airlines had crashed into the Pentagon. And from that point, you see documentaries. Well, you might have seen documentaries now of such thing as how George W. Bush went about through trying to figure out what to do in a situation. And you may have heard this is where the phrase America is under attack comes from. Bush's supervisor, as they were in a elementary school, went into the classroom, and whispered into the president's ear, America is under attack. And he didn't want to cause any panic to the children. And you know what? Kudos to him. That's a smart idea to not cause fear into the children, because that's the last thing you want to do. But shut up. But one thing, let me sit up here. One thing is that as all of this was happening, the supervisor came up with a clever idea of sending the message to the president as the children were distracted. And so it couldn't have been any more perfect timing, as the teacher told the students to get out the books as they were going to read the book with the president. And when that happened, they reached under the desks, into the bags or whatever they had, to grab the book. And that's when the message and the word was spread. That's when Bush became aware. And he didn't want the president to know, and he didn't want the president to turn around to talk with him, otherwise that would cause the press in the back to start asking questions that would just add more chaos to the chaos that's already happening. And instead of looking at him, just leans. So picture I'm Bush. I know I look nothing like him. Just picture it. I'm looking forward, and all he does, supervisor's here, and he's just like. And as the guy is leaving the room, he could see the president's reaction, and all it was just slow nodding. And so after that, all sorts of things started happening, and then Flight 93 comes along. Flight 93 was supposed to have hit the United States Capitol or the White House. We don't know for sure, but it was either one of those two. Alerted by the previous attacks, the passengers revolted against the hijackers, who crashed the aircraft into a field near Shanksville. Of course, it's called Shanksville. I wouldn't be surprised that. Oh yeah, because there's some sort of like a insane asylum in Pennsylvania, so makes sense. Shank. Anyway, near Shanksville, Pennsylvania, at 10:03 a.m., exactly 1 hour after the second plane hit the South Tower. The Federal Aviation Administration ordered an indefinite ground stop for all air traffic in the United States airspace, preventing any further departures until September 13th and requiring all airborne aircraft to return to their point of origin or divert to Canada. The actions undertaken in Canada to support incoming aircraft and their occupants were collectively titled Operation Yellow Ribbon. And George W. Bush was informed by the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, that its counter-terrorism center had identified the attacks on having been the work of Al-Qaeda under Osama bin Laden, or Osama bin Laden, OBL, or some other acronym thing, whatever you want to call it. And the United States responded by launching the war on terror and invading Afghanistan to depose the Taliban, which rejected US terms to expel Al-Qaeda from Afghanistan and extradite its leaders. Regardless of this, NATO's invocation of Article 5 of the North Atlantic Treaty, its only usage to date, called upon allies to fight Al-Qaeda. And US and Allied invasions forces swept through Afghanistan, bin Laden eluded them. He denied any involvement until 2004, when excerpts of a taped statement in which he accepted the responsibility for the attacks were released. However, nearly 10 whole years later, on May 11, finally concluded. And so, if you do want to learn more about the attacks, then please go on YouTube, Netflix, whatever, and search up a couple of 9/11 documentaries. And now I will ask for 2 whole minutes of silence, starting now. Thank you for taking that 2 minutes to pay respect. And if you guys can, you can try and do the 9/11 Memorial challenge, where you have to climb 2,200 meters or 110 floors to accommodate for the firefighters that had to run up the stairs to fight the fires and to try and stop the damage. But alas, it was too late. The damage had already been done. Anyway, guys, yes, it's a sad note to end on, but I thank you all for watching. And this is not going to be like a fun video. This is a short, informative, documentary style video where it's mourning and respecting those that gave their lives and lost their lives. Once again, thank you for watching the video. Stay patriotic. Peace out.